Welcome back to Raw Minds. God, I mean, we got a good one here. I am your host, Eric.
And I'm Anthony.
And, Anthony, we've been talking about this one since we got this email. I mean, it
dude.
blew us away. It really did. This one's going to be a fun one, definitely.
Dude, this guy is like one of those people where, listen, like I don't judge, but like you have quick conversations with people and your subconscious kind of paints this picture of someone before you actually meet or have a conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
And we got on the phone with this man and it was not what I anticipated at all. It fucking blew my mind. Like,
yeah,
we really got to start doing this and recording these because like that conversation the first night, man, was fucking unbelievable. And the one after that too. Like,
yeah.
I'm super excited for this one. I've been waiting for this one.
Well, some people call this man a love guru.
He doesn't like to be called that.
He doesn't. But I'm just saying, some people call him that. Some people call him life coach. I mean, miracle worker too. What he does, man. You know,
Yeah.
he helps. We'll get into that though. But I mean, I say, fuck it. Let's just get into this. We've been so excited. Yeah, we're bringing you on. So we want to bring on Kelly here. So welcome, Kelly, to Raw Minds.
Boom. Hey guys, how you doing?
Thanks
there we go.
Absolutely, man.
Guys, for everything you guys are doing. This is what the world needs. More men needs this. This is great.
Yeah, man. Thank you. We were excited, like we said, man. We were so excited for, like, to have you on. We've been talking about this, you know. So, what you're doing and what you blew us some, like, we Anthony didn't even want to get off the phone with you, man. Just what you know.
I don't think I've ever been so fucking fired up after a phone call. Like Eric called when we got done our first phone call. Eric called me right away, and I was like, dude, this fucking guy, this is the guy. This is the guy. It was so good, man. And yeah.
Well, not just that, and you're skillful too. You do puzzles, right? So you do some like amazing puzzles. And I don't know, do you want to explain a little bit of the puzzles there, man?
Yeah, the puzzles, you know, that's an interesting thing, right? I feel in some ways I am an engineer that never went to school. High school graduate, and it's quite the fantastic story that got me into all of that, honestly. But
yeah, we can get into all that though.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But you know, it's all part of a process, right? Yeah. And you know, I guess if we were to start back at the very beginning of all of my stuff, you know, I was born in the 60s, right? Living in the 70s. My parents were too young to be having kids, and you know, it was my grandmother that ended up raising my brother and I. And so we were left to our own devices in the 70s, running around outside, making forts, making rafts, playing in the barn, swinging on ropes, riding animals that would let us, whatever, right? And that all added to my creativity. I didn't really recognize it at the time. Obviously, I was just a kid. But you really learn quickly when you're trying to make a bow and an arrow because you're just a kid and you want to shoot your brother. But what doesn't work? And you know, you're constantly having to look at how to improve that. And just naturally, there was no adults showing us what to do.
Yeah.
Never did.
Imagination.
Yeah, well,
what kids lack this nowadays, man. You know what I mean? The imagination. It's everybody. My dad used to call it the heads down club. Everybody's got their heads down, looking at their phones or tablets or whatever, right?
Yeah, there was no such thing in our day, was there? You know,
no. I remember the big brick phones when they came out.
Right.
Yeah, those big ones. Yeah.
I was having this conversation with someone not too long ago. Like, my daughter is 9 years old, and I swear to God, when my brother and I were 9 years old, we were tearing the fucking town up, ripping around on our bikes. Like, the town I live in is pretty small. So, like, we would ride all around town at this age. But, like, part of me feels like it's not even safe for my kids to do that. Like, I remember being outside at this time. You know what I mean? And, like, I don't know, man. There's just something about the world that doesn't feel as safe as it used to.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I agree. The whole thing is messed up. So, but yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get where this all started.
Let's unpack this. Let's unpack this like a puzzle box. Let's do that.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
So let me just tell you, I think along the way, I have had this natural kind of interest in puzzles and wanting to solve, wanting to sort things out, wanting to know the whys. And I've learned since my childhood the value in asking a question or even making a statement. You know, I was a little kid, and this is one of the first things I did. I was a little kid, maybe about 8 or 9 years old, and coming from a broken home, you know, and there was this artist that lived down the road from me, and his stuff was amazing. He was well known in the community, eh? And I really thought, wow, that was really cool. Like, but I want to be an artist, and I want to be the kind of artist that makes people's jaws drop. That's what I said to myself, and I let it go. But what I've recognized as far as the mechanics behind it all is that when you make a statement like that of what it is you want, all of the situations and circumstances that it takes for you to get to where you said you wanted to go actually happens in your life. All these little lessons and tests just roll out. So I've had this natural thing with woodworking since I was about 18 years old. And just part of my being, I never took a job that I didn't know how to do. I always learn like in the process. And so I'm basically teaching myself. I never went to school for any of this stuff. There is nowhere you can learn it.
Yeah.
And so I think that was part of it. And so I started out as a kid drawing and do all the little things. And I tried other stuff in school, all the different kinds of art, stained glass and the pottery. But, when I was 16 years old, I watched my dad, who had no woodworking skill at all. God bless him. He made a china cabinet for his mom. And I saw this random pile of wood on the floor turn into a something. And I was impressed. I was hooked right from there. And, being a kid that, doesn't have a lot of self-confidence, not having a mother and father, not hearing you're loved, all that stuff really impacts you. And I was able to recognize that this woodworking path, I didn't know it was art at the time. I just thought, well, it's woodworking, whatever. I tried to do a little wood burning too, but I learned that as I was finding small successes with that, I was actually earning genuine confidence. Not because I'm some handsome guy, not because I have a Lamborghini. I don't have a Lamborghini. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was earning confidence based on something legitimate, and it just grew. And as I grew in that, I think so did more, right?
Good for you, man. That's awesome. And that's like for you?
I was about 9 or 10 years old when I kind of made that statement. Yeah. But then I found woodworking at about 16 to 18. Yeah. And by the time I was 18, I was woodworking all the time. Back in the 90s, when there was that unfinished pine craze, I kept 5 stores going,
Really?
Yeah. But, there's so many things. I can also see that, I've listened to the little voice in my head, and I think everybody has it. One of those little voices I heard was, hey, Kel, make sure you have a hobby, a skill, so that if you're not working, you can make money still. And so it just reinforced this need to woodwork, right? And sure enough, it did. I never had a patch where I had no money ever in my whole adult life. If I didn't have a job, I was woodworking. Yeah. As soon as I had another job again, you know what I mean? Like it always worked out.
Good for you. So, and like, did you at a young age, did you start like selling your pieces and stuff? Was that, and yeah?
Yeah. So I did this funny thing right away. I've always been kind of artsy. So I made these little boxes with a little secret compartment in the bottom. And then what I did is I made the lid so it just sat on top. And I stained, say I made 200 boxes. I'd stain the boxes different colors, but the lids were always the same on top, and I'd wood burn designs on there. So I learned that if I put a skull on it, I could take it to the tattoo shop and sell it. If I put a rose on it, I could take it to the beauty salon, and the ladies would put it in their display case. Right. So I was learning about this cross market. I was self-teaching myself, right?
Yeah.
All this stuff. And I took this entrepreneur course that I wasn't even qualified for, but the guy listened to me and he let me take the course and helped me write a business plan. It was great.
That's awesome.
But it really, all these little things help focus. And you have to, when you say you're going to do a thing, you kind of got to take all the opportunities that come your way. You really do.
Yeah.
It's what helps you get there.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's what you put in is what you get back, right?
Yeah, yeah. And as a kid too, I didn't watch a lot of TV, a lot of movies, but I seen a few martial art movies as a young kid. And right away, I was taken with that little cryptic statement the master would say, that kind of makes sense when you understand the metaphor. That really made a big impact in my mind. And I've gone through life actually noticing all these little wisdom quotes and how relevant they are and how true they are, right? And so it's been a fascinating journey, that's for sure.
I feel like you've got a plethora of metaphors that you use.
Yeah, so it's funny. I do, and one of the things I do, because I do some of this life coaching stuff, and there is an intuitive kind of aspect to it. And kind of one of the things that happens is when somebody's talking to me and they're kind of unloading their story, I see it in a metaphor that I'm able to give back to them, and it allows them to see it in a way that takes them outside of being in it. And all of a sudden they go, well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So the value of a metaphor is so powerful.
And you didn't do any formal education on like mental health or anything like that.
No.
You're literally self-taught everything.
Yeah. So how that all started was, being a kid from a broken home and having all my own messed up stuff and traumas and abandonment issues, the whole thing, right? Interesting things have happened in my life. So I read a book when I was 20 and it talked about how you can be in a relationship, you can end a relationship, but if you do it in a good way, that you can actually have the person feeling better about themselves than they did even before they met you. And so it was kind of like this little path that was like starting to take shape where, because I didn't like how relationships end. Nobody does. It's always terrible, nasty. Everybody hates each other, right? But I read this book, and so I learned that little trick. I read another book, and I learned this other little secret of the universe. And in this book, it was about this fella, and he met an older woman, and she was a medium, and she actually helped like totally fast forward this guy's maturity and his skills and his wits about him when it comes to like spiritual forces, all these things. And I said, wouldn't that be cool? I'd like that. Sure enough, 2 years later, I met a medium and we dated for 5 years, and she showed me tons of stuff. I read all kinds of books. And, one of the things I learned about intuition is that it's a lot like baseball. Everybody can throw it across the plate. There's going to be people that throw it at 100 miles an hour plus, but everybody can throw it. So I learned how to build up my own intuitions, right? In my own kind of spiritual sense. And so along this way, the medium, she actually helped me with my stuff, because I would do this thing, and probably a lot of guys can relate, where we're good about everything until we're not. And all of a sudden we explode and it all comes out, all the things. I don't like this. I don't like the dishes over there. I don't like the whatever it is, right? And so she taught me this really great phrase that allowed me to bring things up, which was, when you do X, fill in the blank, it makes me feel like fill in the blank. You know what I mean? Simple, and it allowed me to start getting things out in a more measured space or
like a
pace or
healthier
whatever you
way,
want to call it. You know what I mean? No more explosions. So all these little things, they all build up. They all build up. Now, unfortunately, the relationship with the medium didn't work out, and that's okay. But I really experienced some amazing magic while I was in that relationship. And when she was gone, all of that magic disappeared with her. I felt like I was right back to where I was when I was a kid. And so what I had to do was I had to start doing the practices of this spiritual kind of life, like, expressing gratitude, even throwing a little bit of prayer in there, asking for lessons, bring it on. I want to know. I want to learn. And so it's funny. This is another one of those things that I learned about the universe, that when you ask a question, that information is being brought to you. I want to learn how to have a better relationship, because of my own childhood. And I've recognized that that's a challenge. We all have traumas. And even though you can learn to manage it, learn how to, receive that information when it's happening, you don't spiral out anymore. You don't get all frustrated and upset. But you never do lose the trauma. You can't. Right. So all these things are a challenge. And it's why I really find it fascinating. As much as I do the puzzles, I find human dynamics actually fascinating and what drives people to do things.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like,
well, in my younger ages, I used to try to put people in like uncomfortable zone, like positions. It was a weird little like game I would play with myself to see really what type of person they were. And I'm not talking about dangerous or anything like that, but like when people are in those uncomfortable, that's when they kind of their true self come out.
Sure.
And it was a game that I played with myself. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. But I mean, I learned a lot of like people's how they move, how they talk, different. Like even if you look to the left when you answer a question, percent of the time it means that they're lying. Like I learned all these little tricks and stuff like that. I mean, it was kind of a selfish little thing that I did. Definitely, I would say, playing with others. But I mean, no regrets. I learned something from it. Going to put me here today.
Yes, and
just to touch on what you were saying about the praying and the asking for help and how you always get answers. I have a metaphor, and I'm going to botch it because I don't know it verbatim, but it essentially says when you pray for bread, don't be surprised when you get the flour, the yeast, the water, and everything. You're not just because you ask for bread doesn't mean you're going to get fucking bread, but you'll get everything you need to make bread.
That's
It's just not going to come packaged the way you want it to. Right. And it kind of goes with what you were saying. Like you say these things and you put them out in the universe. But what you did is you had such an insane intuition to act on these things, which I feel like a lot of people, and I'm one of those people, like I've probably missed out on a lot of opportunities to do certain things because I put these things out in the universe, but then I don't do anything about it. Right. Like, for example, like I want to go back to college to be a firefighter. Well, just because I say it doesn't mean it's just going to happen. Someone's not going to offer me a job as a firefighter. I've got to go, and I've already looked into it. I already know exactly what I need to make that happen. If I don't do those things to make it happen, it's not like I can be mad at the universe. I said I want to be a firefighter. I got the answers I needed, and now I have to put the fucking puzzle together to make it happen, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Well, so after that relationship, and you said that you went back to yourself again, like you felt like you were like back to yourself again. What did you do to move forward to?
So it's really interesting. So one of the I learned to pray a lot when I was with the medium gal, and I dated 2 medium women actually. Very mind expanding.
Did you just were you looking for them, or did they just kind of like pull
So
into you like a track?
this is the magic that happens. So when I read the book and I said, hey, I would like that experience, the medium showed up, right?
Crazy.
I used to sing a song to myself all the time, an old song by Charlie Pride, Kalijah. He talks about standing in the corner and never being able to talk to a girl. Yeah, that was my whole life. I sang that song out loud and I actually sang it really well. I stopped singing it because I realized I'm only manifesting it. There's another song by John Fogerty called Joy of My Life, and where this guy falls in love with a sick woman. I sang that song with a lot of emphasis too, and I attracted that relationship. See, the more things we say, the more things we think, we actually do attract, right? So some of those other things that I learned to do is I learned how to invite situations and scenarios. I learned that. So because I was asking for these lessons, usually the lessons for most people come after the relationship is over. It's really hard to find them when you're in it. So one of the things I realized after this relationship is how attraction is basically our intuitive sense letting us know that person over there is going to trigger your trauma so that you can heal, right? But society doesn't look at that. Society wants to pitch the Walt Disney version of happily ever after. I've learned, like, I learned pickup skills too, just like every other friggin' guy on the planet. But what good does it do you if you don't know how to keep one? Right? Picking them up's easy. Keeping them's a different story. So there was all these deeper levels that I wanted to learn about relationships, and I kept asking for lessons, and lessons keep showing up. And so that was an amazing experience. So there was that, about the attraction. And then I also learned that basically all relationships, whether they're friends, family, coworkers, intimate relationships, they're all put up here for us to be mirrors to one another. You know, you got your buddy who's feeling low. What do? We feed him a new perspective that picks him up. Right? If somebody's got a swelled head, what do? We give them some stuff that brings them back down. We are natural mirrors, but some people in society have taken offense to being told, and they become violent when you try to tell them stuff. Right?
Well,
so you gotta be
all
cautious.
the time.
Yeah. That's men in a nutshell too, right? Like asking for help like shows weakness, which it doesn't. And some people just don't know how to ask for help, and not just men either. I've seen it in women. You can see it in their eyes, and I've also learned along the way too is like, unless somebody says the words "I need help," there's not much you can do. Like, and like you said, some people get offended when you offer help, because then they feel like they're weak and that they're showing that they're weak, and it's like, just because I know what it's like to need help and to ask for help doesn't mean the person that I'm having this conversation with understands and knows what it means to need help. Right?
Yeah. And we live in a society where there's a lot of predators out there, under the guise of offering help, and really they're just there to, harm you, take from you. So I get it. And one of the things I see is that in society, men have been taught this wrong value of what strength is, and women have been taught a wrong value of what beauty is. And between the both of us, we're all messed up. Nobody knows nothing anymore. You look out there at the 4B movements and the red pill and all these things, and everybody's just coming from their traumas, really, And so I'm really glad that men are starting to talk, because we have to, we have to. So one of the other important,
this platform, right? This is what this is for, right? And you know what? I struggle still. You know what I mean? I still struggle to ask for help, because that's just what I was programmed through. And me coming out here and doing this, it reminds me, to be honest with you, to reach out for help now. So
there's times when we need to, and there's times when it's good for us to figure it out. And definitely. I guess knowing the difference is the key there, right?
Yeah, lessons, right? It's the lessons that you're gonna learn from, like, everything in life. Like I said, I say it all the time. Everything in life, there's a lesson. It's just a matter of trying to find it.
Yeah, and that's my perception too, that everything is just a lesson or a test.
Yeah.
Everything. And I heard that as a kid too. And it's only served me, even you go into a store and the clerk forgets to charge you for something. Look at that as a test. Give her the money. Look how surprised she is that you didn't walk away trying to get something for free. She's only going to get trouble for that later because she didn't catch it. Like, why? Why? Yeah. It's like that whole paying it forward thing. I love that. What a great way to lead a life.
That's what we do, man. That's what we're trying to do: pay it forward and help people. That's what it's about. Helping your. We're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day.
Exactly.
We need to take care of each other.
Exactly.
Even I don't understand the jealousy. Like, you see a lot of friends, or even just people. One person is like all high and everything. Why are you jealous? Be happy for that person.
Yeah.
You don't fill your heart with hate, man. Fill it with love.
Yeah. Well, this world runs on jealousies, it seems, when especially if you're in a group of your friends and you're the one that's trying to really excel, your friends can try to actually keep you down because they don't want to see you excel. And that's a real thing.
Yep.
So, in this world, it's good to be a bit of a man who's working to do his own thing.
Yeah.
I love women. I love helping women. But I've learned some truths, and it's not the Disney poster we've been all told that it is.
Yeah.
Even you look at the word love, I think that's been misconstrued. I think that word is actually more described as caring. I think I care for my partner. I care for my children. I care for my neighbor. Love, yes, I love them too, but only because we're so used to using that word. If you look at it historically, love is actually an energy that comes from the center of your chest. You can feel it. I think we've all had that beating out of your chest kind of love. Well, that's a real energy. And from what I've been able to discern, that is our biofusion generator for our healing system. Right? Back in the 17th century, artists would have a muse, a young woman that would fall in love with them. And while he was able to receive those loving vibrations, his creativity would increase. See, they knew this a long time ago, right? A long time ago.
Like inspired him, you mean, and just made his whatever his art was better.
So some of the things they're learning about love, when couples come together and they have, they're in so much love. There's the very first parts of the relationship, right? And sometimes you have these amazing experiences that happen. You just go, wow, what happened? That was really amazing. And they've learned that it's not that person that helped create the situation. It is the fact that the way they looked at you made you feel like you were $1 million is what attracts the magic to you. It's not the other person. The same way when that person leaves, people's lives fall apart because the love left. Well, this is where the reprogramming comes in. When you realize that we've been given a bad program, well, we're designed to fail. More people should know about emotional intelligence, right? Understand what it means to hold space for another. So with the different women that I've dated, everybody's got a something. And what I did, rather than, just like, well, this isn't working, kick them out, I would sort of invest in them, in who they are, what they got going on. And I would learn all about them. And as I learned about them, I learned about myself. And as I learned more about me, I learned more about them. And so it was a mutual thing, and everybody that I kind of, work through and work with, I got better and better and better and better and better to the point where I no longer date gentlemen. I elevate. See, when I come from a place where I understand that the whole point of relationships is to help us heal our traumas, I don't need to sign up for something I know is going to fail. So the way I elevate is women are attracted to men of a higher status, right? Everybody knows that. It's in psychology. I'm not saying anything new. So at that level, when I meet a woman, I talk to her about who I am, and then genuinely conversation arises and new perspectives are bestowed and conversations are had, right? And sometimes they're in this hump where they can't get over it. And because somebody who's outside of their forest comes in, I'm able to shed a little bit of light on it. Yeah. But at the same time, I've learned that, in the same way you tip a turtle over, you don't expect that turtle to come home with you. If our goal then is to help people and help people heal, then that's all it is. I don't try to keep them.
Yes.
Right? And by taking sex off the table, well, you only get more respect from them, because it's just conversation and it's genuinely trying to help them get to a place where they're confident, feeling like they're doing something.
Can you explain some of the stuff that you go through to help?
Sure. Yeah. So when I meet a gal, because I am on dating sites and I do say on there I don't date, so I'm getting inquisitive. And so I'll explain to them this whole thing that we've just gone through about what attraction is and what relationships are, what love is. And they want to know more and they want to know more and more. One woman stayed here for 2 years, and then when she felt like she had enough, she was ready to go. And it's just a lot of coaching, and everybody's different. But I will tell you, the one thing I've learned is that most women that I've helped, their issues lie within being able to speak their truth and being able to have healthy boundaries. And I think this is probably the same for a lot of people in general. So one of the ladies that I was helping for a little while, I learned, and it's funny how this goes, because I've been learning about all these lots of different things, but it wasn't until this lady came along that there was things that in the behavior that were a little different. And so I stumbled across attachment theory, and all of a sudden a lot of things started making sense. And then I started understanding a lot of people a lot better. And basically, attachment theory just talks about how, based on our childhood, we're raised with traumas, and that, to some degree can tweak us in the way we accept love or don't accept love or feel abandoned, even if we're not. So recognizing all those things is very helpful. So, and these are the things I bring to people, really. It's just a lot of common observations, a lot of the mirroring conversations, a lot of the metaphors when they're talking, right? And I don't charge money because I feel that healing is free. Healing should be free.
Definitely.
Especially at this level, it's two people having a conversation. I've never asked for anything.
Yeah, I agree with you with that. I mean, like, mental health just alone, men and women, it's a serious deal. Like, especially now, like we were saying earlier, I mean, you got people running on the streets, stabbing people for no reason or assaulting people. It's sad. And I know in America it costs money. Like in Canada here, we got free healthcare, right? So I mean, it's not as expensive, but I mean, you can go to the hospital, say, hey, I'm ready to, like, I'm gonna kill myself, right? And you can go to the hospital and they'll put you in. You go in America, you gotta pay for that shit, man. You don't have your,
Yeah.
It's hard,
And
man.
see, and this is what happens, as far as I can see, when trauma is left to go on. It's like a stinking bag of garbage that you're keeping right beside you.
Yeah.
It isn't going to get smelling any better.
Yeah.
Right? You got to toss it. You got to get rid of it. And so this is why, another interesting perspective is, spiritually speaking, I have learned that, when we walk through our challenges, it's like walking through spiritual fire. And it actually strengthens your mettle to challenge your own self.
Yeah.
So I would, maybe 20 years ago now, I began going into relationships with the perspective of, I wonder what I'm going to learn about me here. Not about what they're going to do for me, not even what kind of trips we're going to take or where we're going to live, or no, it's about what am I going to learn about me. Right? So these perspectives, they tend to shift everything. When you don't expect them to stay, and when they don't, you don't get disappointed.
Do you believe that, like, every person that comes in your life, like, is a partner? Do you believe that, like, their traits?
I believe that.
So, like, everyone's traits a little bit different, so they'll pull that your trigger of, like, different stuff to hopefully help you heal.
If there's attraction, they will trigger you. End of story. But that's also why arranged marriages work, and why that was so popular and still is because there's no attraction. These two people aren't going to fight. This is more important stuff like family, wealth. You can't have your emotions getting in between you.
Yeah.
In a weird way, it's almost business.
Yeah.
Rather than.
And so nobody's going to trigger anybody there. Right?
I have a couple friends that have arranged marriage, and I'm telling you, they're thriving.
Right?
Thriving. I shit you not, man. They're thriving.
And what if even in these relationships, what if they're not even monogamous? What if they have other partners? Who really cares? That's their life, right?
Yeah.
They're circus, they're monkeys. I don't get caught up in what other people do,
Yeah.
Even when it comes to the whole thing with praying and God for me, and I don't mean to upset a lot of people out there, but I separate between God and religion, right? I believe there's a God. I've been praying him to my whole life, and I'm seeing the results of it, right? The whole puzzle thing is actually me putting into practice the stuff I've been learning about spirituality, about letting go of expectations. And so that's how I actually do the puzzles, is I just put one little part in. I don't know what the rest is going to be, but usually by the time I got that little part built and glued in, the next part is shown to me, and then I do that, and then all of a sudden I'm done a big puzzle. And so this process, a lot of these women have come here and they've seen the process, right? And it sort of adds legitimacy to what I'm trying to express to them about the power of their mind and where their thoughts are and what they're going to get. Right.
And what's I guess you could say, what's the drop rate from like women that will go through the process with you to ones that just say no, not having it? What's usually,
you know what? It's really interesting. It's actually a really high percentage rate. So I don't advertise, and I don't know that I'll get any calls from this, whatever. I hope I don't. But what I do is, so because of the puzzles and the gift with all that, again, I read more books, and it talks about being in service to humanity, how that's the other part that you kind of got to do. So I said, guys, like, God, you know what? I said, I love helping people. Why don't you send me those that can listen to me and will hear what I might have to say and find value in it, right? And that way I feel like I'm doing my part. Sure enough, people show up. I never have more than one at a time. Some last for 6 months, some last for years, some I only ever talk to on the phone. You know, it is what it is, right? And you can't really be in a relationship and do this kind of work, because no good woman is going to sit by and you're taking phone calls at 7 a.m. from a woman who's in distress, right? It's not really cool. And like I tried to explain it to one gal, so I have all this love to give, and I can either give it all to one person, or I can just put it out there and, you know, help people however I help people by being in service, right?
And how long have you been doing this for?
Well, it's been growing over 20 years. I wouldn't say it started consciously like that. It just began with me wanting to be better in relationships. But I would say in the last 10 years, it's gotten more towards where I'm more conscious of the role we play in each other's lives to be mirrors and to be teachers. And even for me, you know, I'll tell you, my dad was a rageaholic, right? And, you know, my brother and I get fighting, the belt would come out, right? I think a lot of us experienced that kind of childhood. But anyway, so I had one friend and I was helping her. I did some amazing work with her, but she was helping me build a little off-grid cabin, and she didn't know anything about tools or screw guns and whatever. And, you know, I would get annoyed and I would start like getting angry with her, like just being sharp with my words. She laughed at me, like literally, like it was the funniest thing she ever heard. She helped break me of this, right? Right? Because I didn't take my own self so seriously. I saw the lesson in the opportunity that was being presented. She thought it was funny.
That just threw you right off then?
It did. It's like a dog that's barking and you all of a sudden pull a treat out, right? Like, what? What was that? You know?
Yeah.
Shook me out of it. And the fact that she was laughing was hilarious. She wasn't intimidated, which is awesome. I'm glad she wasn't, you know?
Yeah.
Good learning lesson for me.
That's good, man.
So
go ahead, Anthony.
Let me ask you a question, because you briefly said it earlier, and I'd kind of like if you could elaborate on it. You said, like, what's important is holding space for people. And I feel like that's a very important subject to kind of touch on. So can you elaborate a bit on that and kind of give your definition of what holding space for people is?
For sure. Yeah, man. That is a good question. Holding space is the way I review it is if you said something, it doesn't even matter what it is. It could be something totally non-important. But if your partner freaks out, you triggered them. They're not angry at you, you triggered a trauma. So holding space means not your own self getting upset that they're upset, right? By being relaxed, by sitting back and listening and trying to come up with a rewrite at the end if possible, or an acknowledgement, validating what they went through. You know, at no point do you want to, you know, deny them the reality of what they felt, because they did feel it, right?
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got emotions and they're valid to their emotions, right?
I once told a woman that I believe that we're all projects and that we're the best project we'll ever have. But for her, that wasn't a compliment, because somewhere in her history, somebody made her feel like a project and it became unsavory. So how interesting that I would use that word in a conversation we were having that would trigger her. Why? Because that's what we do. When I meet women, I tell them right up front, I'm going to tell you things that are going to piss you off. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. That's how triggering works, right?
Well, we talked about this when we had Ed on, and it's about like triggering and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't understand that those triggers it's your fault, you know? It's not the other person's fault for them triggering you. That's your journey, your trauma that you need to fix, so then other people don't trigger that. You know?
That's right.
And he had also to be clear, he had also said too, like triggers aren't always bad things too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of an example of like a positive trigger, but like something that reminds you of a positive thing in your childhood. That's a trigger.
Buddy, I got the best one, man.
Yeah, like Christmas trees or
yeah.
or hey, the old man singing Christmas carols, Frank Sinatra or something, right? Positive.
Yeah. I drove by. We have this lake here, Lafarge Lake. It puts it all up for Christmas lights when it's Christmas time. And I drove by that, and it triggered. That's where I went on the first date with my fiance that passed away, right? And it triggered a great memory, you know.
Yeah.
At one time, that was a sad memory, but now it's a great memory that I got to share, and just person was in my life, and it was a good trigger,
right?
So it's just
Love
like
that.
you said, different triggers.
Yeah,
I mean, you can have good and bad.
and I think the important thing is if we can get our own selves to a place where we recognize that we triggered somebody, that we didn't do anything to harm them, but they're in that spot. I think getting ourselves to that place where we're no longer reacting to their reacting. That's what makes things worse. You ever see a couple that fights and it gets amped up more and more? It's just because both of them don't know how to de-escalate.
Yeah.
I've been
Right?
I've been through that before in
I
relationship.
think we all have.
Yeah.
We all have, you know.
Yeah, we get frustrated. We don't know what to say. We don't know how to make it better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the other time, you're trying to make your partner listen to what you have to say, and then they are doing the same, but at the same time too, you're being defensive, so you're ricocheting off what they're wanting because you're trying to get yours out, and it's back and forth, right? And it gets toxic.
So a great way out of that cycle right away is to describe what you're hearing your partner say they're saying. As soon as you do that, they know they heard you, that you heard them, right? Oh, I hear that you don't like it when I leave my sink over here, or that my dishes here.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, she felt heard, right?
It's acknowledging.
Yeah.
I went through that a lot with my kids' mom. Was when we would get into arguments, it was a lot of me screaming at her, trying to like shove my feelings down her throat, and her not acknowledging me and trying to scream and shove her feelings down my throat. And it's like we did couples therapy, and it was a lot of learning that even if she could understand what I was feeling, just because I feel a certain type of way about it, doesn't mean that she's going to feel the same way about it. You know what I mean? Like even like something I'm passionate about. Just because I'm passionate about mental health doesn't mean that my fucking coworker or a girl that I'm dating is going to have the same passion and energy for it that I'm going to have. Like everybody views things differently, right? So yeah, I've been in the situation where it's like you shut your fucking ears and you're trying to shove this thing down their throat about how you feel, but you'll never entirely understand how someone feels. You can understand it, but you'll never feel it the way that they felt it.
Right. And one of the great skills I learned, I think this is like these skills go so far back. When my kids were little, I took some parenting courses and I learned all these great little tools for my kids. And one of them was describing what you see. So I learned real early, I see, Dylan, that, you're looking pretty upset right now. Just describing what you see can do so much for somebody. It recognizes that you see that they are where they are, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Acknowledging their feelings, right? Like that's what I do with my daughter.
Well, they say that the part of us that loves is only ever an infant. Right? That's why you can see a great big muscle-bound man, and then the woman goes and dumps him. That guy becomes like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Because that love part of us is only ever infant. It's what keeps us fragile.
Really?
Touche.
I've never heard of that. That's awesome. I like that. Man. It's so true. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and it's true. Like pure too, right? Like love is supposed to be pure, right? That's so they say. It's supposed to be pure. And it's kids, you know, when a baby's born, they're pure. They see right, like they just look like if you ever seen a brand new baby, though, like they will look right into your soul. You know, it's just, and they're pure. But then they see the world, and the world just, let's face it, corrupts everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, you know, as parents, we can recognize kids that have lost their innocence, right? We see them out there. We see these little kids that are just like little sugar angels. Nothing bad has ever happened to them. They're just the lightest little butterflies running around. And then you got other kids that are just running around already into the mean and the hating and the hurting.
Yeah.
You know, we got to heal this stuff, or we ain't never going to get out of it.
Well, you know what? That's what I'm working on right now, man. I'll tell you, dude. Like, after having my daughter, now custody of my daughter, I'm dealing with that. You know, she's had so much trauma in her life. She was 2 years old and she was mauled by a dog, at 400 stitches in her head, from her forehead all the way down, you know?
Wow.
And then just the other stuff that she's been through, you know, and it breaks my heart, man, because like I just, she's a kid. She shouldn't feel like this, right? And it's my job to protect her. So now I'm trying to retrain her, in a sense, I guess you could say it like that, or like, you know, trying to divert her from that path that she was living, right? And I'm trying to bring her down this path. And like I've had her for just over a month and a bit now, and it's like night and day. She's like, it's amazing, you know. Even her school's just like, she's a totally different, excuse me, she's a totally different kid, you know? And it's just, that's what they need, is love. They're kids. Let them be kids. That's all it is love.
Yeah, man. I agree. You know, there's a school over in England called the Waldorf School, and they believe that a child, and maybe I've got this wrong, but this is something I read a number of years ago. Maybe it's changed. But anyway, up until the age of 7, kids don't touch it, like learn math, learn how to read. It's all textural experiences or visual experiences. It's about creating with their hands. The rest comes after.
They actually, I think they're implementing that type of, it's called play-based learning. So it's all done through experiences. So like my kids, up until like like my son's in grade 1, and he does very minimal, like actual work. You know what I mean? It's all based off experiences and playing and understanding that way. My daughter's in grade 4, but she has schoolwork now. But that's what they're trying to do, is like implement a lot of more like experience stuff rather than teaching them math when they're fucking 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
My daughter does the same thing, actually. Around, she's in grade 5, man, and she's never had homework.
Yeah, my kids have never had homework.
Yeah, it's just like you said, play based. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And they even have like this room where it's like a fun room where you go and they got this like hammock thing hanging from there, and they can get to go in there and swing and do that too. Like it's cool, man. You know, it's a different way. I mean, not like when we were in school, I'll tell you that, definitely.
No. I can't even go into my kids' school. Like, I can't just walk through the door. They're locked now.
Really?
Yeah. That was a surprising change.
Yeah.
Ours, like, we can walk in ours, but that's. I mean, you never know nowadays. Look at, like I said before, the sick world, man. You know what I mean?
I think that's part of the reason why they do that now.
Yeah.
Like they have like an intercom outside, and they have to buzz you in.
Crazy.
That's how my kids'
I know they do that for
it.
like daycares and stuff, but schools now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look in the States. A lot of these schools now, they got metal detectors
and fucking security guards at the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that showing you?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what do you think, like, was your highest point, like, where you said, like, this is not highest point, but like, this is what I was born to do? Because this is what it seems like you were born to do. Like, when did you really come into,
you know what?
like, the enlightenment?
I had a dream right after that eclipse we had back in the summer. And it was a really strange dream. I'd never had anything like it before. And I'm pretty good with dreams. And it was in this room, and all of a sudden it was filled with just soap bubbles everywhere. But if you look really close, you could see that within the soap bubble, there was like an image, and it was like a life experience. And all of a whole bunch of bubbles came from the whole mass, and they all assembled on this string like they were on a clothesline. And all these key experiences in my life have led me here, right? All of them. So I think it was only just a little while ago that I really began to put it together that this really is about the whole love consciousness thing. You know, that love actually heals people. I actually have this belief that love is our biofusion generator for our healing system, right? And that if we can fill up our system with love that isn't dependent on a person, then we should have good health. Now, aside from the Bell's palsy issue I got going on here lately, guys, I haven't had a cold or flu in over 38 years. I haven't taken any medicines or nothing. But I've been woodworking and loving it since I was 18 years old. Right? And getting that feedback.
And that love that you're putting into your work is definitely, that energy is like your body's just filled with it, because how often are you doing your woodwork? Probably
like every day, all day long.
There you go, man. And that just fills your bucket alone too, right? That's what makes you happy. So it fills
well, and I seem to have fallen into this situation that some people are calling, what was the term? I just heard it the other day. Kind of like mini retirement, where you find what you like to do, so you don't got to go to an office anymore. I used to work in a freezer driving a forklift, right?
Yeah.
So making puzzles, listening to rock and roll all day is a pretty good way to go.
And is your shop at your house?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, man. You're
over on the other side of the wall. It's great.
There you go, man. So you're living it. You know what I mean? You're living it. I mean, I think, like, I wish I could work from home, but I'm in construction, man. So I can't be working home from maybe not yet in this world, but
right. So and again, there's these situations where I follow my own intuition. 2 years before COVID came, I was working in the freezer driving a forklift, and I had this really intense dream where I was on a small island, and there was like these super dark clouds, and it was this terrible storm coming in, and there was me and a few other people trying to pull people in out of the water and get them up on the beach. But we couldn't. And it was right after that, probably about 3 months after that, I had a big issue with my knee and I had to go on short-term disability. I moved to the island, right? And I went full-time with my puzzles, right? So I follow that, right? Even when I was with the medium. So I was in this place where I'd spent 16 years with a company learning how to do wood recycling. We were licensed by the ministry and all this great stuff. Anyway, I was a product designer. And let me just tell you, they were in this spot where it's like, I don't know where they're going, but I was anxious for something, hungry for something. So I was going to do that or invest in my art. And so I did this thing called a blue moon ceremony, right? And a blue moon is a second full moon that happens in a month. It happens every 2 years. Anyway, so we get out there, this medium and we set up candles, and I throw offerings of nuts and seeds to the nature animals all around. And we go through the whole thing of expressing gratitude and me expressing what it is I want. Right? I wanted to invest in my art. 2 weeks later, a fella contacted me. He saw a video I made on YouTube, and it was this great big huge thing I had in an art gallery. And he said, I really like what you're doing there, but can you make it really small? I said, like how small? He said, about the size of a Kleenex box. It's just like, what? In the moment, my mind couldn't even fathom it. But because my whole pattern is do it, you know, you'll figure it out. Just do it. Dude, I haven't looked back, and it's been 15 years.
Good for you.
Right? So we got to follow our own intuitions, right? Like there's this awesome thing. Like I got so many stories. It's just ridiculous. I was teaching this one gal how to pray, and we were going to go to the movies. And I said, watch this. I said, and I just did this little prayer asking for a parking spot right in front of the movie theater. And we get up there, and we are like right at the lights, and there's no parking spot across from the movie theater. She starts laughing at me. The light turns green, and the car pulled out right in front of the movie theater, and I pulled in. These kinds of things, you know, you have to notice them. And one of the things I learned about all this spiritual stuff is you have to express gratitude for it. Because when you express gratitude for it, you get more of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that, I mean, probably a lot of people have seen it online, where it's like on your way here, like say you're coming to my house, right? And they say, on the way to my house, how many red cards did you see? Well,
Right.
you don't know. You don't remember. But
Yeah.
before you leave to go to my house, if I tell you, look
Right.
out for red cars, all you're gonna see is red cars. Looking
Yeah.
for red,
Yeah.
and you can tell me how many you're gonna see.
Yeah.
Like, so the things are out there. It's just a matter of you trying to find. Like, you got to really open up your eyes, like you said, and you got to find that, right?
Yeah.
There's actually a bit more to that too, Eric. Tony Robbins does a really good thing on it. He's sitting, I think it's with Theo Vaughn, and he says, look around the room, then close your eyes, and he says, tell me how many, like think of all the things you saw that were blue. And then he says, now think of all the things that you saw that were red. He says, you didn't notice anything red because you were looking for things that were blue. He's like, but along the lines of when you were looking for things that were blue, you were probably picking out things that were like turquoise and like baby blue and not just blue because you wanted to be successful in what you were doing. So you were thinking of what you wanted to achieve or what you were looking for. And that's exactly what you found. But you also made other things fit that mold because it was it was acceptable in your mind to fit that mold. So that's something that we do in recovery too, is like changing your perspective, right? Like if you want things or like if you're looking for them, no matter how big or small, as long as you're doing it with gratitude, there will always be an answer. I 100% agree with you in that statement. If you're like, I have guys that I work with and I'll tell them, like, send me a list of 5 things you're grateful for. I don't care if it's the obvious ones like your kids, your house, but then give me a couple small ones that you don't even think that you're grateful for. Like, I'll give you a stupid one. I just realized this the other day. I just got a new phone last week or 2 weeks ago. That's the first time in my entire life that I actually paid a phone off the way you're supposed to pay a fucking phone off without changing providers and having like a huge bill. I paid it from the day I started to the day I finished, and I owed no money on it when it was done, and I was able to get a new one at no cost at the beginning. You know what I mean? I'm grateful that I was able to do that. It took me 32 years, but I was able to do that. So even as simple as being grateful for that, like, but then it snowballs into other things. And it's like, well, the only reason I was able to do that is because I practiced 12 steps through a program of recovery. But with my recovery also comes my kids. My kids love me, you know, and now like I have an extra phone that one day I could give to my kids next year so that they can contact me whenever they want, you know, like it's this snowball effect of gratitude. Like people, if you take 5 minutes, sit down and just write down 10 things that you're grateful for, you'll probably be surprised at what you're actually grateful for sure.
Well, let me ask you this: when you got your phone, did you set that goal, or was that just an accidental?
It wasn't even a goal. I just went on it to pay my bill, and then it's like you're due for a hardware upgrade, and I looked, and it's like your plan is up as of December 5th or something. I was like,
At the
holy
end of the day,
shit!
it's still a goal because you never done that before, and you've crossed that line, and you did it for the first time. So it's you could say it may be a small achievement, and it could be a big one in your life, but it's still an achievement and still a goal that you crushed, and that's something that will boost you now. You know, that brings good energy into your life, and it gives you good jujus. You know what I mean? Like it makes you feel good, right? You know, which will bring up your mojo just that much more, man.
Well, and it's like Kelly said too, it's all about perspective because man, I was so good at arguing with cell phone companies back in the day. Like, fuck you, I've been with you guys for 5 years, blah blah blah, give me a better deal, blah blah blah. And now it's just like slow it down. Be grateful that you even have a cell phone, that you can afford to pay your bill on time to the point where they'll give you one for free. You know what I mean? Like this world, and I hate to say it because I don't like judging, but this world is so self-centered and egocentric, and that's, I feel like, is the biggest problem that we have in this society right now. Is it's such a consumer society. Well, I want this, I deserve this, I need that. It's like once you start giving, you realize that you already have everything you need. And that's why, like, I was so excited to have you on, Kelly, because I appreciate your
Mm-hmm.
perspective so much, and like the being of service thing, man. Like we literally say that in recovery. Like if you want something, go give it away. To keep what I have, I have to give it back. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, man.
I
If
like
you'd
that.
like another interesting perspective, because I thrive on
Yes.
perspectives, it's what
Yep.
it's what helps support the final perspective, right? So in Wicca, and I don't claim to know a whole lot about it, but I do know enough that they tell you not to wish harm or negative thoughts at anybody because you get it back 10 times. What do you think the revenue is or the ROI is on positive thoughts towards somebody? Same.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So going around wishing people well and love and all that great stuff, it's only going to come back to you. And so this is one of the things that I think I've been finding in my experience. I've been helping women for a long time, not asking for nothing, and a lot of lessons and a lot of great things. And and I helped a woman just recently in the last few years. And dude, like I don't mind living poorly. I don't really care about money in a lot of ways. And I was living in a dirt floor shack, and that woman put me in a house on my property, right? As gratitude, as thanks for the gift I gave her. And even that whole story, I was a really big guy, bigger than I am now. I was over 340 pounds. And I was looking for the answers of what the hell do we need to eat so I don't have to buy the other crap anymore, right? And a woman shows up in my life, and she already had that question answered, but she was looking to balance out with some of this spiritual, emotional intelligence stuff because she knew that that was the balance of what she needed. So here we were exchanging information. I'm soaking it all up. She's soaking it all up. It also led to a very powerful realization that the only people you can help are the ones that recognize their own potential, right? You can't help somebody that can't help themselves.
What's that saying? You can take the horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And
That's
so
true.
these little things, they kind of got to get proven. And I've tried to help some people. I think you asked that before, the ratio of people I've helped to not help. Well, mostly I've helped.
Yeah.
But the ones that didn't recognize their potential, I didn't even know that that was a thing at that point. But then when you're helping them, they get to a point and they can only go so deep. And then that's when you realize, well, that's as far as you can go. And,
Is that,
that's
do you
it.
think, from their own fears of inside to letting stuff release?
Yeah,
Or
100%
yeah.
traumas for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
For sure.
Yeah. They're just not ready in their life at that moment in time to really take that leap.
It could be a matter of safety for them. They didn't feel safe as a child,
Yeah, that's true.
The one thing I love about what we're doing here is we're talking about deep stuff, and we're going to give more people the courage to talk about deep stuff, right?
Definitely.
And this one gal, obviously, she hadn't met many guys that could talk deep, so it's not too hard to go deeper than her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the great metaphors I like to share is that a lot of this stuff is like you and I walking down to the river, right? It could have been at different times, but if we met up later, we could talk about any part of that journey because we both taken it. Now, try to have that same conversation with somebody who's never left the couch.
Yeah.
They just can't relate. And that's where some people are. They haven't gotten enough into them yet where the steam has got momentum, right? Right. And it can be hard challenging ourselves, right?
Breaking out of that shell, definitely too, man. Because like you said, childhood trauma, some people, they're stuck in that because they're broken, which is actually pretty sad. There's so much to life, and there's so much love to accept and give out, especially right now. We didn't even say this. It's Christmas time, so we just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Oh
I
yeah,
totally
we're not
forgot
even
about
gonna.
that.
Oh no, well, no, this
23rd.
is
No, 23rd.
23rd. Well, it'll come out on the 27th.
Yeah, so
snap.
Nice.
But I actually have a perfect example of a story that I'd like to share when it comes to like what the hell's the word? I just lost my freaking thought process there. About like people not being at that point where they're able to the potential. So when I first got out of treatment, like I have a sponsor, and I used to idolize this man. I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast or not, but I idolized this man. There was a handful of people, 2 or 3 people who are friends, and one of them is my sponsor. And I always used to idolize them. I'm like, man, this guy's so cool. Like, and not even for the materialistic things, just the way he walked, the way he carried himself, his outlook on life, the way he didn't give a shit what people thought about him. I'm like, man, like this guy's so cool. And then after a while I realized that like I don't idolize this man, because if I idolize this man, I'm putting him in a position that I feel that I can't achieve for myself. I don't idolize this man anymore, because that man has nothing in his life that I'm not capable of achieving or getting for myself, as long as I'm willing to put in the effort to get it. Right? Like idolizing people doesn't do you any good, because you're putting yourself lower than you deserve to be. I am no better than anybody. I am no less than anybody. It's just a matter of how much work I'm willing to put in to get to where I want to be. And it's same for everybody, right? Like if you're sitting here listening to this and you're like, oh, or me, like this is where life's got me, then fucking do something about it. And I don't mean to sound like a prick by saying that, but we all got to where we are by doing something about the things that we had a problem with. You have to get tired of tolerating your own shit so that you have the energy to do something about it. And the best thing I ever did was ask for help, because we can't do this alone. And there's people like us out there who literally just love to fucking help people. It's a wild concept that people have a hard time understanding, but like there are just people out there who just love being good people, right? And the world needs more of it. But then we get people like you on the show, Kelly, and it's just like, fuck yeah, man. I love it.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks, man. You want to ask him the question?
Do we want to ask him today? Yeah, let's do it.
Fire away.
So I like to ask this question every guest we have on the podcast, and I'm super excited for your answer. What's your message to the world in one sentence?
Perspectives matter. 100%. Perspective matters. I could give you a million scenarios and stories that show that. You yourself, Anthony, know, right, from your experience. It takes you from being here to there, right?
Yep.
Love it.
That's a great answer, man.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Well, I think we'll close that off with that for tonight.
Yep.
But we do have some gooder episodes up ahead.
Yeah.
Right on.
I just want to say, Kelly, man, thank you. I mean, I'm happy that I got to meet you. I'm happy you reached out to us and sent this email. I mean, your perspective on this has just mind blown me, and I've learned actually multiple things actually in this episode with you, even on the phone. I mean, you blew us away on the phone, man, and I can't thank you enough, and I want to thank you for all the people that you helped too, going through your journey. I think that's just magical and honorable, and also I think it's very honorable for you coming up here, and I thank you for coming up here and being a part of the show, and you are a part of Raw Minds.
Thanks for having me, guys. You guys are awesome.
Man. And I don't know what it is, Kelly. There's just something about you, dude, that makes me just want to fucking hug you. I just want to be held by you, man. I don't know what it is, dude, but I just want to fucking hug you.
I get that. You know what? Because of where I am energetically, I'll just leave you with this. When you get to this place where you are a safe space, women can feel it right away. People feel it right away. Kids feel it right away. Right? So
yeah, dude, you got this. This energy about you. And another thing, you are not too far from me. I would love to connect when we don't have so much goddamn snow. And I would love to come up and check out your workshop and see what you do, because I'm a carpenter by trade, rough carpenter. I'll clarify that,
man. We all
but I would love to see what you do, man.
Dude, I've just started a school. I'm teaching people now. So
sick.
There's only like a small handful of people that make these puzzles in the whole world. Right?
And you're one of them.
And I'm one of them. Yeah. Well,
man.
I'm excited. I'm more excited actually to turn other woodworkers onto it, because I've never gotten paid so well for my woodworking. when I build a big cabinet, man, 50-60% of that cost can be the material.
Oh yeah.
You're talking a little puzzle like this, even if it's exotic wood, it's maybe $3 or $4.
Really?
Yeah. Once you learn the process, it's not so hard to do.
So let me ask you then.
Yep.
What kind of tools do you need to do what you do? Do you have like planers and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, it's all basic garage level stuff. The only two specialized pieces I have is a mini table saw. It's a model maker saw. So it has a little 4 1/4 inch carbide blade on it. The tabletop is only 12 inches by 12 inches. It's got a little shoot board for it and everything.
That's crazy.
But you want something like that to cut little pieces.
Yeah.
So that and a thickness sander. I hardly ever use a thickness planer.
Okay.
I keep 80 grit on the thickness sander, and it comes out. It's got all these little high ridges on it, but it palm sands off really quick.
So that's the same idea as a planer. It just doesn't have the blades. It's just got a sanding belt.
And it's quiet. It's quiet. Planer is got to be next to that and the router, the loudest tools in the shop.
Oh, yeah.
But that thickness sander, it's quiet. I can still hear the radio.
Wow.
Yeah. Other than that, it's simple stuff, man. It's more about learning, jigs and templates and learning how to make a process and prep stock
and stuff too.
Yeah, I have I probably have about 15 different sizes of dowel diameters, depending on the project, and I have the ability to make exotic wood dowels if I need to too.
But I saw that dragon one you did. Fuck, that was wild.
Yeah, man. That's sick, dude.
Yeah, that was wild, man. Like you made that dragon head and everything?
Well, I have other friends that are artists, and they have the skill to draw that part out for me. And then I gave it to another friend who has the laser cutter. Did all that, but I put them together. The rest of it's fine. I know when to ship out, right? A shop for somebody else's skill. I love collaborating with other artists too. I've done that many times.
Man.
That's awesome.
I've gone through your TikTok, man, and it's just
yeah.
I like the light switch that you made for your mom there.
Yeah. That's coming up with names is half the fun, I swear.
Yeah. Well, that's like us coming up for names for the episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But can you plug your stuff, man? You want to plug your stuff so people can reach out to you if you want, or
sure. It's up to you. Anybody wants to find out more about mechanical puzzles in nature in general, you can come visit my Instagram page, Kel_snake, and right there, you'll see my whole portfolio of stuff I've made for the last 15 years. And if you want to go to TikTok, Kel Snake, you'll see some short videos, sometimes showing how I make stuff, sometimes showing a bit about the puzzle, sometimes it's a backstory. I'm trying to get more towards that.
Yeah, that's great.
And where are you?
So right now, it's an online course. So I'll be teaching here out of the shop, and then people from around wherever, they'll log on basically once a week on a Saturday for a few hours, and we'll do a little instruction, and they got the week to go and do what we talked about.
Where can they find that?
They're going to have to contact me directly at kelsnake@yahoo.com.
Gotcha.
And I can give them the information for that.
And we'll put that in the description below too, so people can reach out like that, man. And I mean it, guys. You guys got to check his shit out, man. It is phenomenal, phenomenal. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So show him some love. Sign up for the course and learn how to make these puzzles, man. They're fucking awesome, man.
What is the proper term for what you are again? I can't think of it.
I'm a metagrabologist.
That's it.
Sounds like I have a degree, but no, I'm just high school educated.
That's okay, buddy. I don't even have that.
When you said that in the email when you sent it over to us, I was like, "What the hell is this?" I think Anthony looked it up, and then that's how we kind of
we're like, "Oh, he makes puzzle boxes, sick."
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's only a term known in the puzzle world, I'm afraid, but that's okay.
When he said puzzles, I was thinking like cut out shapes where you put them together. You know what I mean? He's like,
jigsaw puzzles. Dude, before I got into this, I had no idea what was out there for puzzles. Because I didn't make puzzles. I made furniture with secret compartments, and I put a few combination locks on them and stuff. I wasn't making puzzles,
dude. Yeah.
And when I saw, it's like, boy, I found my niche, right?
Some of the fucking tables I've seen, though, to be fair, like the furniture pieces, some of them are insane. Insane.
Yeah.
Maybe if I win the lottery, I'll own one.
Oh, there's some talented people out here. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Definitely. All right. Well, Kelly, on that note again, I think thank you again, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Really do. Really appreciate your intuitiveness, your intuition, and how self-aware and in tune you are with that. Yeah. I feel like one of the hardest skills that I've learned, and I'm not anywhere near the level that you are, but is like trusting that intuition, trusting your gut. And like you said, as long as you can stay grateful for what you have and you trust that intuition, it will always manifest itself in some form or another. Like I said at the beginning, you ask for the bread, it may not show up as a loaf of bread. It'll show up as flour, yeast, eggs, everything you need. But if you're looking, it'll show. So again, Kelly, thank you so much, my friend. It was an amazing episode.
Thanks, guys.
I'm so glad you sent that email, man. You are one of the coolest fucking people we've got the opportunity to talk to.
You guys are awesome. And everybody you've had on here has been great. Salute to them for having the courage to say this stuff. It's hard, not easy.
No, not at all, man. And our guests that we have on, like every single one of them has been amazing. You know, every single one of them. And they're all family now, you know? Yeah. So they have our phone numbers, we have theirs, we're all family now. That's what we're trying to build here. It takes a community, right? Or it takes a village, right? So we're building it, and we're carpenters, so we'll bring the woods. We just need everybody else to bring the floor laying, the tile, all that shit, and we'll have
the puzzle maker.
Yeah, we got it all, brother.
Yeah, you just need some trailblazers, and you guys are doing it. So
yeah,
we're doing our best, my friend.
It's good on you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, that's us. Take it easy from Raw Minds.
Whoa, easy, bud.
I thought you were done, man.
What if someone's listening to Kelly's share and they're so fucking fired up they want to come on the show?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
What are they going to do? They're going to email us at rawmindspodcast@gmail.com, just like Kelly did. And you give us a brief description and leave your socials, and we'll get in contact with you. And we'll set up an interview, and you can be sitting in between Eric and I. Yeah. And also, if you guys could do us a huge favor and give us a subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as TikTok at Raw Minds Podcast. We're really trying to build up our social media platforms. We've kind of honed in on TikTok. We've got over 14,000 TikTok, but we really kind of want to gear up our other social medias because we don't know what's going on with TikTok next year. So if you guys could give us a follow on all those, it would be super appreciated so we can keep doing this. We're not going to stop regardless, but it would just help us push this out there some more. So thank you to all our listeners. Again, thank you to Kelly. And thank you to you, Eric. I fucking love you, bro.
I love you too, man. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Thank you to you, brother. You know,
yeah, man.
We're family now, man. So, okay, boys. Right. That's it. That's all.
Thanks,
I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
There we go.